hello and welcome to the last lesson in topic 5. This is ecosystem services. All right, so first let's start by defining ecology. We already kind of know this. This is the study of how organisms interact with their environment. And since we are organisms, we interact with our environment and we gain things from our ecosystem. So ecosystem services are the free benefits human receives from ecosystems. So that can be like water or fuel, even wood, and they're often produced without the help of humans. So they're just for our free benefit. We don't need to do really anything to them. They're just there because our ecosystem are serving us. So there are 4 different types. There's regulating services, cultural services, provisioning services, and supporting services. Okay, and we'll get deeper into that. But first, biodiversity is super important for ecosystem services. These organisms benefit from the interactions from biodiversity, and it increases the ecosystem services, the free benefits that we have. And humans also depend on the cycles of matter and energy, which is a type of service that our ecosystem gives to us. It would be supporting services, but we will get further into that. Okay, so first let's define cultural services. That's when we use the ecosystem to rest and relax or learn about the world. So when you're going on a walk outside or hiking or kayaking, as this person is, that is a recreational use, and that's a cultural service our ecosystem gives to us. So it is a free benefit from our ecosystem for us to rest and relax. We could also use cultural services that our ecosystem gives to us as educational, such as field trips or exploring the Earth's history. Okay, so cultural services, we're resting and we're relaxing. And then there's provisional services. Those are the useful products obtained from the natural resources in an ecosystem. And a natural resource is just a naturally occurring thing in the environment that we use. So we use wood, we use like wheat in the farms, or food or water. We all need those things, and those are our natural resources that we get from our environment. So the provisional services are the useful products that we get from our natural services. Okay, so those, again, a provisional service is an ecological service, and we're getting these natural resources and using them for free from our environment. So that could be, again, drinking water. That could either come from surface water or from groundwater in our environment. We could get food. Farming helps us get either meat, vegetables, fruit, fish, all these different things that our ecosystem provides for us to eat. We could also get fuel from oil and coal and other natural gas like methane or propane. Those are all fuels that we use from our natural resources, and that falls under provisional services. Okay, and then we get raw materials. So we could use plants for medicine, and we could use timber or wood for building. So we use all those raw materials to function as a society. Okay, and then there's regulatory services. This allows nature to reset or refix or resist problems that may harm the ecosystem, and it also protects humans for the same problems. So if it's harming the ecosystem, it's going to harm us. So these regulatory services are what are protecting us. So for example, plants are able to increase the air quality by removing these harmful chemicals, either from the air, or they could also do it in the oceans too. Plants regulate the climate by absorbing the CO2, so they need the CO2, but the CO2 is also a greenhouse gas and can increase climate. So these plants help regulate that. And then deep roots are able to prevent soil erosion. Sometimes you can see trees or like grasses with deep roots in a like water land, like a beach or something, that's going to help the soil erosion so we could keep our beaches. Okay, and animals like mussels or oysters can also filter polluted and contaminated water, as we see right here. So the pollution goes in and they filter out clean water. Okay, animals also pollinate flowers and disperse the seeds. That's another form of regulatory services. And some animals also naturally help with pesticides and disease control. So those are all problems that we can get, and the ecosystem is allowing us to resist or fix the problems with these examples. Okay, and then there's supporting services. That's again probably the most important service. This cycles our resources and supports all of the other processes. So we talked about the water cycle before. The water cycle is a type of supporting services to cycle water through and allow us to survive. And then decomposers, again, recycle nutrients from dead organisms. Without decomposers, we're not going to recycle the nutrients we need back into the ecosystem and back into the food we eat. So without decomposers, we wouldn't have that great cycle that we have to survive. And the carbon-oxygen cycle are all supporting services. We talked about that. That's just photosynthesis and cellular respiration, cycling carbon and oxygen, all things that we need. Okay, so there are factors that impact the ecosystem services, and we'll get into that. So one is biodiversity. I talked about that in the beginning. So ecosystem services increase with biodiversity. So the more variety in an ecosystem, the more ecosystem services. That's because ecosystems with more diversity are more stable and they're more able to give these services. Okay, and then there's human activities. So humans can alter or destroy habitats, and the natural cycling is disrupted. So the severe impact can be due to greed or ignorance of humans, and severely impacts biodiversity. So oil spills, pollution, all of these things, industrialization, they are impacting our biodiversity and they're impacting our ecosystem services. And again, they're greatly reducing the ecosystem services that are available. If you're decreasing biodiversity, you're going to decrease the ecosystem services. Okay, but humans can also be helpful, so they could also conserve. A conservation is the act of using less of a resource so it could last longer. So humans can protect, they could promote sustainability. Sustainability is the ability of an ecosystem to maintain biodiversity and produce resources indefinitely. So sustainable, we want those resources to remain here indefinitely. So they can promote sustainability by protecting areas and regulating the amount of a resource that can be removed. Okay, an example of this is sometimes you can only fish a certain amount of fish, like you could only catch a certain amount of fish in a lake, or you can to help overfishing. Okay, and then there's also restoration. That's helping a degraded or a destroyed ecosystem recover. So when something's destroyed, we want to restore it, so that's restoration. So planting native plants and cleaning up toxic spills are all ways of humans restoring the ecosystem because they're trying to recover the damaged ecosystem. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope that helped.